everyone, and welcome to the last show of Saturday Sports Talk of the year. I just want to thank you guys for y'all's continued support throughout the year. Even though I started this podcast, I think like around October, and I've just been loving the continued support, and I can't wait to see, what we do with this podcast for the new year. So if you haven't already, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also catch my podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts. So what I want to start with first, the Cleveland Browns clinched a playoff spot for the first time since 2020. Joe Flacco has really been leading this team, going 4-1 since he took over, and has become the first Browns QB to pass for more than 300 yards in 4 straight games. The fact that the Cleveland Browns, when all the times I've watched football, they have been like really a poverty franchise, and to see them, I believe they're like at 11-5 right now, and actually still have a chance to win the division and also even get the number one seed is really wild and crazy because the Browns have never been this good. I mean, Joe Flacco, this dude was literally sitting on his couch and he just came into this Browns team and has just been on fire since. In their defense, Myles Garrett's been playing out of his mind. They've been able to shut down people, and it's really just like the fun, like loving story of the NFL this season. But yeah, I mean, I think this team's definitely going to be a threat in the playoffs, depending on who they match up with. But I could definitely see them making like a genuine run to like the AFC Championship and possibly upsetting a lot of teams. But so congratulations, Browns, for clinching a playoff spot. I can't wait to see what you guys do in the postseason. So moving on to the hometown highlights, the Houston Texans will be looking to bounce back after a humbling 36-22 loss to the Cleveland Browns at home. They next host the Tennessee Titans in the AFC Showdown, which could determine if the Texans will still be in the hunt for a playoff spot. And good news, C.J. Stroud missed the previous 2 games because of concussion protocol, but he is now set to start on Sunday, which is really big news because our offense really depends on him. And in the last 2 games we haven't really looked the best without him there. So happy he's gonna be back at right up in center on Sunday. You can catch the Texans versus the Titans at 12 p.m. on Fox. The Houston Rockets lost 131-127 to the Philadelphia 76ers on Friday night. This was the Rockets' third straight loss, and we were without Dillon Brooks, who missed his second straight game, and Jabari Smith, who missed out because of a sprained left ankle. Jalen Green cut the lead down to 1 with 17 seconds remaining, and the Rockets intentionally fouled DeAnthony Melton, where he hit both free throws to make it 130-127. Green then had a chance at a 3, but passed up the chance and passed the ball to Jock Landale, who missed the layup. A free throw by Marcus Morris iced the win for the Sixers. The Rockets next play the Pistons on New Year's Day at 7 p.m. and you can catch the game on NBA League Pass and Fubo TV. I mean, yeah, this sucks, Rockets lost in a close one, had the chance to win the game at the end. I think Green really should have took the 3 versus trying to, spread the love. But I mean, this season's gonna be ups and downs. We started off pretty good, and now we're on this 3-game losing streak. But I definitely think for sure we're gonna bounce back and definitely see us, in the playoffs. So I just can't wait to see, how this team responds to adversity. The Houston Dash signed forward Maria Sanchez to a 4-year, $1.5 million contract on December 18th, which makes her the highest paid player in NWSL history. Last season, she carried the Dash with the team leading 4 goals and 6 assists in all competitions. Also for the Dash, they signed head coach Fran Alonso, who is coming from Celtic FC Women, where he led them to 2 Scottish Cups in 2022 and 2023, and the Scottish Premier League Cup in 2021. He also led them to a 76-11-9 record and won 3 of 4 competitions their team competed in. So yeah, everything's looking good for the Dash. We locked down Maria Sanchez, who is a amazing talent. Like I've seen her play in person, and she definitely has it. Definitely, the player that'll definitely you can count on to produce some big moments. Then this new coach, never heard of him before, but apparently he wins he was winning with his last team. So, hopefully he can lead us, the Dash, to some success. I mean, and then last season, with the Dash, we were really close to making the playoffs, but, we squandered our last couple games. But next season, things are looking on the up. So hopefully we'll be up there, make the postseason, and then we'll see what we can do from there. Lastly, the Houston Dynamo extended right back Griffin Dorsey to the 2025 season with the option for 2026. He came to the Dynamo in July of 2021 and has made 80 appearances and scored 8 goals for the club. So this is another great move. The Dynamo, extending Griffin Dorsey because he was definitely one of the catalysts, for the Dynamo's run to the postseason. And it's good. Hopefully, Dynamo brings back that core group that made it all the way. Maybe add a couple new pieces and then see where we go from there. So staying in men's soccer, Chelsea survived a 5-goal thriller, beating Luton Town 3-2, where Cole Palmer scored his first ever Premier League double. Palmer got his first in the 12th minute after he got the ball on the edge of the box and fired it into the bottom corner. Chelsea doubled their lead in the 37th minute when Noni McAdoock dazzled his way past two Luton Town defenders inside the area and then rifling his shot into the top net. London Town were looking like the better team up to the hour mark, but Chelsea struck again in the 70th minute with Palmer getting his brace after he raced into the box and routed the goalkeeper to slot it home. London Town pulled one back in the 80th minute after former Chelsea player Ross Barkley headed it home from a corner. London then went on the attack looking for a second and got rewarded with 4 minutes to go after Elijah Adebayo was unmarked in the box at the far post to tap it in. Chelsea held on for the win and still remained in 10th place while London remained in 18th place. I mean, great win for Chelsea. Of course, I always love to see us win, but the fact that this, London Town caused us those issues at the end, we almost squandered the win, and they possibly, if they would have kept going, probably could have got an equalizer to make it 3-3 and would have been only walking away with a point. But it just goes to show you, Chelsea struggled this season. And it's really sad to see because we spent all this money on all these players, and it's just like, I feel like we're not playing to the standard of what we should be. But, I mean, the performance, is not the best, but pick up the 3 points, so you just kind of just take what you can get with Chelsea at this point. Moving on, Manchester United versus Nottingham Forest. United finished the year with a 2-1 loss on the road to Nottingham Forest. Nicolas Dominguez opened the scoring in the 64th minute after a switch finish from Montiel's cutback on the edge of the box. United leveled it minutes later after some questionable goalkeeping from Matt Turner allowed for Marcus Rashford to side-foot it home. Forest secured the win in the 82nd minute after Morgan Gibbs-White scored after a blistering counterattack. United have now won only one of their last 5. Again, another team, Manchester United. I mean, to end the year on a loss kind of really sums up what they've gone through the year. This has been a awful season for United. I mean, losing to Nottingham Forest when they are a very good team, but still, like you're Manchester United, these are games you should definitely be winning, especially with the money that your manager has spent and the talent in the team. I mean, it's just very underwhelming, very disappointing. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen with this team. I know someone just bought some stake in the club, so maybe this new ownership will maybe bring some changes and get Man United back to the glory days, but they definitely have a lot of work to do. Moving on to Serie A, Juventus beat Roma 1-0 to move within 2 points at the top of Serie A. The first half was one to forget with both sides playing abysmal. Juventus got the winning goal 2 minutes into the second half when Adrian Rabiot had the ball fall perfectly into his path to side-foot it home. Juve had the chance to double their lead with 5 minutes to go, but Weston McKennie hit a point-blank shot right at goalkeeper Rui Patricio. Juve now sit in second with 43 points, while Roma dropped down to 7 on 28 points. I mean, yeah, so Juve, they kind of just like smash and grab win, really escaped away with it. Inter, I believe in their game they drew, so that's what makes Juventus is like 2 points off of Inter, possibly have the chance to take over them depending on what happens in their next game. But I mean, yeah, in Roma, uh, really expected them to maybe get an equalizer with the talent that they have, and Jose Mourinho with his coaching and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, when you really think about it, Juve really have the better players and the better talent. So they got their win, they got what they need to do. So let's see how they do for the rest of the season, both teams. Fulham versus Arsenal. Arsenal will be looking to bounce back after a disappointing 2-0 loss to West Ham on Thursday, which cost them to retake top spot in the league. They might be able to do so with having beat Fulham in the last 5 Premier League away games and scoring at least 3 goals each time. Fulham, meanwhile, are struggling. They lost 3-0 to AFC Bournemouth on Tuesday and have lost their last 3 Premier League games by an aggregate score of 0-8. We can catch this game at 8 a.m. Sunday, and it will be streaming on Peacock. Yeah, I was really surprised. Arsenal lost 2-0 to West Ham, which is a very big blow because it would have took them, back to the top of the league. Now Liverpool have a chance to, steal it. So, but yeah, I mean, in the odds, I mean, Arsenal have kind of always just beat down Fulham, so not really expecting them to have really too many issues with this one. But yeah, I'm really surprised with what the Arsenal's doing this season. They've looked like really the best team of the Premier League so far. So, hopefully get the 3 points here and, get their spot back at the top of the league. Lastly, to round out men's soccer, Liverpool versus Newcastle. Liverpool have beaten Newcastle in their last 5 Premier League games and are unbeaten against them in 14 straight games. Liverpool are a fortress at Anfield, having lost just one of their last 51 Premier League home games. Newcastle, however, have never beaten Liverpool away in their last 27 Premier League meetings. Newcastle also have won just one of their last 11 Premier League away games, losing each of the last 4 in a row. Kickoff of this game is at 2 p.m. Monday and will be on USA Network. Yeah, I mean, Liverpool at home, a completely different beast, especially when that crowd gets the singing and really gets behind the team. It's a very, very, extremely tough place to play in. Very magical place with the things Liverpool have been able to do there. And Newcastle, they had really a kind of up and down season. They were pretty good at the beginning of the year, and then a lot of injuries happened. They got knocked out of European football, got knocked out of the League Cup. So, kind of a team that's kind of like reeling. And, worst thing you want to do when you're in that position is go face Liverpool at Anfield. So, I mean, yeah, I expect Liverpool, to win this game here and, keep applying pressure on Arsenal for that top spot. Moving on to college football, number 1 Michigan Wolverines faces number 4 Alabama Crimson Tide in the Rose Bowl for a chance to go to the college football playoffs. And I cannot wait to see this one. I've been watching Michigan all season long because of Jim Harbaugh, very interesting character of the who's the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, and then you got Nick Saban of the Alabama Crimson Tide, the darling child of college football. So can't wait to see these two teams go up against each other. It all really just depends. Alabama hasn't really allowed 100 rushing games in a game, and Michigan is a team that really likes to run the football, especially with Blake Corum. He leads the league, I believe, in rushing touchdowns. So it's gonna be interesting to see. JJ McCarthy is definitely gonna have to step up on the passing game, and he was really sluggish in the last few games of the season. So I'm really curious to see, who's gonna come out and win this game, and I can't wait to watch it. Coverage of this game is at 4 p.m. on Monday and will be on ABC. Lastly, in college football, number 2 Washington Huskies face the number 3 Texas Longhorns in the Sugar Bowl. And I think this one's going to be another really good one. Washington, they have Michael Penix Jr. at QB. Then he has his 3 top wide receivers who can really go off at any point in time. Texas Longhorns, you got they lost their running back sadly, for the season, but Quinn Ewers, and they still got some dudes and he can get the ball too. Their defense is pretty decent, but their cornerbacks, they've allowed, some big plays, and with Michael Penix and the three guys, his three weapons, is definitely going to be a battle. So I really can't wait to see who comes out on top. But I think if I had to pick one, I think I'm going to probably pick Washington in this game. Even though I do love the Longhorns, but I don't know. I think those Washington receivers are going to have a field day against those cornerbacks. But coverage of this game is on Monday, and you can catch it at 7:45 p.m. on ESPN. Moving on to the NBA, the Boston Celtics versus the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons lose their 28th game in a row, which is now a match for the longest losing streak, falling 128-122 in overtime. The Pistons had a 21-point lead at the half, but found themselves trailing 106-100 in the last 2 minutes of the game. Bojan Bogdanovic sent the game to OT after scoring a putback with 4.6 seconds left. In overtime, Derek White scored 10 of his 23 points, and Kristaps Porzingis contributed 6 to make it a 125-117 lead. Jason Tatum had 31 points and 10 assists as the Celtics have now won their fourth straight and have won 9 of the last 10. The Pistons, meanwhile, set the NBA record for most consecutive losses in the season Tuesday with picking up their 27th straight loss. So, I mean, yeah, this is like really sad to see. Like the Pistons have lost their 28 games in a row. At that point, it's like I don't even know how to even keep going and even want to play the game at that point. I did see today though they played the Raptors and they broke the streak. They finally won the game, which is good, but still, I mean, hopefully, like I said, they won today against the Raptors, so hopefully, I mean, this maybe kickstarts their season. But yeah, losing 28 games in a row, that's just awful, especially with the players they have. And then Monty Williams, he just led the Suns to the finals, so crazy to see. Celtics, meanwhile, definitely looking like a Eastern Conference juggernaut, probably going to be in the conference finals. So I can't wait to see how the Celtics keep improving this season. Hopefully, Detroit, gets better. The Minnesota Timberwolves beat the Luka Doncic-less Mavericks 118-110, with Anthony Edwards scoring a season-high 44 points. Rudy Gobert contributed with 20 points and 11 rebounds as the Timberwolves are now 13-1 at home. They went on a 15-3 run in the third quarter to take control of the game but never looked back. Without Irving and Doncic, Tim Hardaway Jr. scored 32 off the bench to lead the team in scoring, but it wasn't enough as the Mavericks have now dropped 5 of the last 7. Dallas cut the lead down to 4 in the fourth, but back-to-back threes from Kyle Anderson helped the Timberwolves to the win. I mean, yeah, if the Mavericks don't have Doncic and then they didn't have Irving, yeah, more than likely they're probably going to lose. The fact that they would have won this, it would have been crazy. Especially against the Timberwolves. They have looked definitely like a team in the West you don't want to face if they make it to the playoffs. Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, definitely a threat for sure. And, I can't wait to see, what they keep doing for the rest of the season. And I can't wait to see also this Dallas Mavericks team, with Luka and Irving and everyone together. I think once, everybody gets healthy, I definitely think they're gonna be a team too in the West that you don't want to see. Pretty much the whole Western Conference of the NBA is pretty much loaded. There's really good teams all around except for, like what's a team that's not good in the West? Let me think. Maybe a team like there's really, yeah, you know what? There's not really no bad teams in the West this year. So, I can't really say that because they can really. Oh, you know what? The Warriors. I'll say them. But you know what? They can snap it on at any time. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Just the West is loaded, basically. The reigning NBA champs, the Denver Nuggets, blew out the Memphis Grizzlies 142-105. Nikola Jokic was perfect from the field and free throw line, finishing with 26 points, 14 rebounds, and 10 assists, which was his 11th triple-double of the season. Jokic is now fourth in the regular season triple-doubles rankings with 116. The Grizzlies were without Ja Morant, who missed his first game since coming back from suspension and had won all 4 of their previous games with him back in the lineup. They have a losing record of 6-20 when he isn't in the game. The Nuggets went on a 16-0 run spanning across the first half, which gave them a 15-point lead. Memphis got within 4 midway through the second quarter, but the champs went on a 18-2 run to give them a 65-48 lead at halftime. In the fourth quarter, they led by 38 to put the game out of reach. The Nuggets, man, the Nuggets are definitely going to be a force to reckon with in the West. I could honestly see them repeating as champions because their squad is just loaded, and Luka Jokic, man, is really just an amazing talent to see. The fact that he went perfect from the field and the free throw line and got a triple double, like, it's like, how do you even stop this guy? And then as for the Grizzlies, they are a completely different team without John Morant. During, his 25 game suspension, they had a losing record, and then when he came back, you know, they were basically winning games again. So when he isn't, in the lineup, they are basically a lottery team. So, but yeah, once he gets better and back into his lineup, the Grizzlies are definitely going to be back up there. And with him in the game, yeah, Memphis is also another team you don't want to play against. Moving on, the Miami Heat beat the Golden State Warriors 114-102 to pick up their fourth straight win. The Heat were without Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Caleb Martin, and Josh Richardson, but still managed to get the win, with Tyler Hero leading the way with 26 points and 7 rebounds. This loss was Warriors' first in Chase Center since November 18th against Oklahoma City Thunder. Steph Curry and Klay Thompson each had 13 points, and Curry was held scoreless to the fourth minute of the second quarter. The Warriors had a horrible shooting night, only connecting on 37 of 88 field goals and 8 of 33 from the three-point line. I mean, the Heat, this is a big win to not have, like, basically a good, like, three players in your starting lineup and you still managed to get the win. And I believe, oh yeah, and they were on the road. Like, that's huge. I love the Miami Heat and their culture, like, just this never say never attitude, this never quit, next man up mentality, just a whole bunch of dudes that just want to play ball. It's really, I really do love the Heat. As for the Warriors, I love them too, but they have just been really struggling this season. I don't know, it's just because of, like, with everything they got going on, with the whole Draymond thing, everything he got, and then, they traded for Chris Paul and stuff like that. They just look very disjointed, not like how the Warriors look from before, and definitely very concerning. Um, but hopefully, maybe they get, like on a heater and become the Warriors of what they were before. To round out the NBA, the Los Angeles Lakers beat the Charlotte Hornets 133-112 to give the Hornets their ninth straight loss. LeBron James had 17 points and 11 assists 2 days before his B-Day. And actually, it is LeBron James' birthday today. So, LeBron, happy birthday, man. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you for everything you do for the NBA. Anthony Davis contributed with 26 points and 8 rebounds. The Lakers pick up their third win in 9 games since winning the in-season tournament. The Lakers were winning by as many as 28 early in the fourth quarter, so Coach Ham decided to rest both AD and LeBron for a rare blowout, which is only their 8th double-digit win all year. The Hornets were without star player LaMelo Ball, who missed his 14th straight game because of a sprained left ankle. It's a good win for the Lakers. LeBron picked up, a win before his birthday, so it's great to see. Um, but yeah, another team that's pretty much up and down. They really haven't looked the same since they won the East season tournament. Kind of was like on the losing record. So, hopefully this win right here against the Hornets, kickstarts a run of wins. Yeah, and the fact that you're up but that many points in the fourth quarter where you can rest both AD and LeBron is always a good thing. And then the Hornets, LaMelo Ball is really the orchestrator and the heart of that team. So, whenever you don't have him, they look like a different team, just like John Moran without the Grizzlies. So, and this is his 14th straight game he's missed. So, hopefully, he gets healthy and they get him back soon because with him in the game, this Hornets team is definitely different. And he's just an amazing talent, and I just love to watch him play. So, moving on to winners and whiffs. Another 2-3 week this week. It's upsetting. I don't think I've had a winning week since I had first started out the podcast. I always keep getting these 2 and 3s, and I don't know, but I feel real good about my picks for this week. So this is my list from about 2 weeks ago. The Jets versus the Dolphins. I had the Jets in this one, and they lost 30-0 against division rivals Miami. The Dolphins were without star wide receiver Tyreek Hill and really relied on their run game with Raheem Mostert getting 2 touchdowns to set Miami's single-season record of 20. Tua did have 224 yards and a 60-yard TD pass to Jalen Waddle in the first half. Second half of the game was pretty lackluster with Jason Sanders hitting 2 field goals as the only one of the scoring half. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I must have just had since the Jets had just beat I can't remember who they had beat, but they had beat somebody very convincingly. And then I thought, Dolphins, they kind of just all glitz and glam. They don't have Tyreek Hill, so he basically runs that offense. So I'm like, oh yeah, let me pick the Jets, for the upset. And the fact that they laid an egg is just very upsetting. Miami pretty much blew them out. I mean, really, the kicker was the one who did most of the scoring in Raheem Mustard, but yeah, I felt dumb in taking this pick. I don't know why in the world I thought the Jets would beat the Dolphins. I'm guessing because with that defense, I thought that maybe they were going to get after Tua and put a lot of pressure on him, but that's clearly not how it went. The Chicago Bears versus the Cleveland Browns. I took the Bears in this one, and they lost 20-17. Joe Flacco had a big game with 374 yards passing and helped get the team into field goal position to set up Dustin Hopkins' winning 34-yard field goal. Flacco also overcame 3 interceptions to help rally the Browns from a 10-point fourth quarter deficit. The Bears blew a 17-7 lead and almost had the chance to win the game after Justin Fields threw into the end zone, crowded with players, and Darnell Mooney had the ball in his hands, but it bounced in and out, which then allowed Browns safety D'Anthony Bell to intercept it to secure the win for Cleveland. And I was very upset because it's just like I had the Bears and they were winning by 10 points, and then they somehow let the Browns come back to win by a field goal. And I was just very upset because I'm like, how when this Bears defense was supposed to be better, they were saying like they were like the Bears defense from like the old days when like the Bears had like one of the best defenses, and they let the Browns come back from a 10-point deficit. So I mean, I can't even be mad because you know because it's the Browns, and I'm really starting to be jump on the Browns bandwagon this season. But yeah, more upset with the Bears for blowing the lead, but happy, that the Browns, picked up a big win. Dallas Cowboys versus Buffalo Bills. I had the Bills in this one, and they blew out the Cowboys 31-10. The Bills just basically ran the ball down the Cowboys' throat, with James Cook having a day with 170 yards rushing, 220 yards from scrimmage, a receiving TD, and a 24-yard touchdown run. The Cowboys, meanwhile, were held to only a field goal through 57 minutes. They now fall to 3-4 on the road and have been outscored by road opponents 156-152. And I keep telling people, these Cowboy fans, they get all hyped for the season. Y'all beat on the bad couple teams, and then y'all lose to like why did you lose to that team? And all the Cowboys losses this season have came on the road. They're a completely different team on the road. And by the looks of it, they're probably not going to win the division. So that means more than likely in the playoffs, you're going to have to go on the road and face somebody. But depending on who they might be, you might be able to win. But, it's just they're a completely different team. At home, tough to beat, and you ain't gonna be able to beat them. But on the road, yeah, to have fallen 3-4, then Michael Parsons, he keeps talking all this smacking stuff, but it's like, dude, like, where do you be at when your team, when these teams are running the ball down your throat, like you're complaining about calls, you're complaining about all this stuff, like just play the game and be the defense that y'all supposed to be all high and mighty about. Like that's the thing that kills me about Cowboys fans. It's like they think every year is their year, but then they just do stuff where it just all falls apart. And I'm not even gonna admit I love to see it. As for the Bills, big win for them to keep their playoffs hopes alive. Buffalo is definitely on a heater right now, and with the way they're looking, definitely a team I would not want to face in the playoffs. And the scary part is Stephon Diggs has been remotely very quiet, so he's due for like a breakout game. And Whenever he gets going, Buffalo is definitely going to be a dangerous team. The New York Giants versus New Orleans Saints. I picked the Saints in this one, and they blew out the Giants 24-6. QB Derek Carr was 23 of 28 on his passes, threw for 218 yards and 3 TDs without top receiver Chris Olave, who was out injured. The Saints defense, though, showed out with sacking Giants QB Tommy DeVito 7 times. The Saints are not fighting with Tampa Bay for the number one seed of the NFC South. I mean, the Saints got a big win, here to, keep challenging to win the division, but I don't know. The Saints have just been very underwhelming this season, from their schedule. But, before the season even started, a lot of people were talking about, the Saints could definitely be a dark horse for the NFC number one seed because of like the easiest of their schedule. But the fact that they've been struggling this season is really sad to see. Derek Carr definitely hasn't looked good. Whenever he's at home, a lot of the fans have booed him. But this was a great win to keep pressure on Tampa. As for the Giants, seems like Tommy DeVito's magic is running out in New York. I mean, they really have nothing to play for left now. They're already out the playoffs, so it's kind of just figuring out um what number you're gonna get in the draft. So yeah, it's yeah tough. Yeah, tough days for the Giants and Saints. Not looking too better either. So let's see how everything plays out for both of these teams at the end of the season. And to round out, Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Green Bay Packers. I picked the Packers in this game, and they lost 34-20 behind Baker Mayfield playing lights out, throwing for 381 yards and 4 touchdowns. Green Bay have now lost their second straight, and their playoff hopes seem to be in jeopardy. And I don't know why I picked the Packers against the Bucks. Maybe because Baker Mayfield has a losing record in Lambeau, so I just thought that the Packers were gonna pick up the win here. But Baker Mayfield has really been playing lights out for the Bucks. I would definitely give him a contract in the offseason. I think he deserves it. And it's really hard to try to replace someone like Tom Brady. I mean, you never really can, but Baker Mayfield definitely could be, the QB for at least, the next couple of years in Tampa. All right, so last segment of the day, game changer must see matchups and picks. So I got the Miami Dolphins versus the Baltimore Ravens, and I'm gonna take the Ravens in this one. I think Lamar Jackson is having an MVP type of season, and I think with his running and passing abilities will cause all sorts of problems for the Dolphins defense. Even though the Dolphins defense has ranked first in total defense since week 5, and are first in QB hits, second in sacks, and fifth against the run. Miami, though, sadly would be without wide receiver Jalen Waddle. Ravens can clinch the number one seed in AFC with a win in either game, but if they lose, it could open for Cleveland to take the division. Same for Miami, they could clinch their division with the win, but if they lose, Buffalo wins. Then in Week 18, the division will be decided when Miami and Buffalo play each other. So, yeah, definitely. I mean, even though they say this is a week-to-week league, and typically, on Christmas Day, the Ravens pretty much blew out the Niners. And once you blow out a team, you kind of like dial it back a little bit. But just with how Lamar Jackson talks in his interviews and stuff like that, like just taking it game by game, not trying to get caught up in the narratives of being number one seed, and he's just focused on trying to get to February. And I love to see that mentality, just taking it week by week. And I definitely think that they'll be able to cause some problems on this Dolphins defense, no matter what the stats say. Um, Plus, then I think this Ravens defense will cause a lot of issues for Tua. I mean, for one, he's not going to be without Jalen Waddle. So that means it's kind of going to be, if you can stop Tyreek Hill, then you got to see what's Miami going to do. They do have a great run game, but I mean, you can't really depend on the whole game of running. And Baltimore's defense is not going to let Miami just run all of it up and down the field like that on them. So, you know, if you double Tyreek and then, just man the other guys or whatever, then yeah, definitely you take them out the game pretty much. I definitely think Baltimore will win this one and clinch the number one seed. Moving on to the NFC. New Orleans Saints versus Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm taking the Bucks in this one to catch a playoff home game by winning the NFC South. These two have won the past six division titles, and the Bucks have won the past two. Tampa has won their last four straight games in a stretch where they lost six of seven. Baker Mayfield has been the catalyst with this streak. He has completed 60% of his passes while 1,010 yards, 9 TDs, and one interception. The Saints, meanwhile, coming off a loss against the Rams, was dropped in out of a tie for first place in the division. When these two teams met in in week 4, the Bucks blew out the Saints 26-9. And I'm definitely yeah. I just think the Bucks are really on a heater right now, and I think they want the NFC South more than the Saints do, just from like their basis of play. Plus, like I said, Baker Mayfield is playing for a contract. So what better way to ensure that contract if you win your division, especially if you pick up this big win against the Saints, is only going to look even better. But when they went in week 4, the Bucks pretty much blew them out. So I'm not expecting it to be as much as a blowout. Maybe keep it a little closer, maybe like a 27-20 type of game, maybe by a touchdown. But yeah, definitely think the Bucks will end up winning the division. So the Denver Broncos versus Los Angeles Chargers. Seems like it's changing times in Denver with head coach Sean Payton announcing that starting QB Russell Wilson will be benched for the last two games of the season and will be backing up Jarrett Stidham. Eastern Stick of the Chargers and Jarrett Stidham have a combined 4 NFL starts and are both winless as starters. Denver still has an 8% chance of making the playoffs if they win out and Kansas City drop their final two, then they will be back in since winning the Super Bowl in 2015. So I'm going to take Denver in this one. Because, anytime in some cases when there's a QB change, it kind of revitalizes the team. So, Stidham is winless um, in his games as a starter. But, he has an offensive wizard like Sean Payton. So, maybe that makes a difference. But a lot of weird stuff happening in Denver. Russell Wilson has spoke saying, Denver previously threatened to bench him. So, I guess now it still came as a surprise though. Like I wasn't expecting, him to be benched, but apparently there's something in his contract where if he fails a physical in March, then they have to pay him 37 million guaranteed. So I think it really goes down to the financial reasons of him benching. Plus, Sean Payne also said he wants to give the team the best, chance of winning, and apparently going with Jarrett Stidham is the way. But when you look back on Russell Wilson's career a little bit, things pretty much went sour in Seattle. Now things are going sour out here in Denver. So Russell Wilson might need to have like a little look in the mirror, think, say, maybe it's me, you know, kind of always came off as a guy of like, very quiet and reserved, stuff like that. A lot of people in Seattle at the Legion of Boom and stuff like that didn't like him because they felt like he was favored and Pete Carroll told them, if you have a problem with Russ, come say it to me, things like that. Couldn't really go up to him or criticize him or anything like that. So, so it seems like his, um, career is over in Denver. So can't wait to see for the off season, what are his possible destinations and where he's gonna end up at. Definitely gonna be the talk of the NFL off season. But yeah, I'm gonna take Denver in that game though, just because the Chargers are, not really that good and they're missing a couple of their star players. So and I'm gonna go also because Sean Payton is the better coach. The Cincinnati Bengals versus the Kansas Chiefs. I'm taking the Chiefs in this one because they are due for a big game, and what better time than to get it against your conference rivals at home? The Chiefs have lost 3 of their last 5, while the Bengals have won 3 of their last 5. Both teams are fighting for a playoff spot, but the Bengals needed more to keep their pursuit alive of being in the hunt. So, both teams really need to win, but I guess if you want to be technical, the Bengals needed more because they're out of the tiebreak. They're not going to win the division, basically. So, you need to pick up as many wins as they can to, keep their at least secure wild card spot. Chiefs, meanwhile, I think they're going to be okay. They're more than likely going to win their division, but even still, they haven't looked like the Chiefs of the past. Their receivers are their number one receiving core who have dropped the most passes. Mahomes has been visually frustrated. Travis Kelsey is on the sidelines tossing his helmet. So, but they're at home. It's a big game against one of your rivals. Um, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are the best coach and quarterback duo. So, hopefully, the Chiefs receivers show up. I think Travis Kelsey is also due for a big game, so hopefully he gets that one here. And yeah, it's gonna be a great game. I can't wait to see how it goes. And yeah, I'm gonna definitely take the Chiefs in that one. So last game of the day, 70 San Francisco 49ers versus the Washington Commanders. I'm taking the Niners in this one to bounce back after a disappointing loss to the Ravens at home on Christmas Day. The Commanders are also coming off a 30-28 loss to the Jets. The last time these two played, the Niners beat the Commanders 37-20. Defensive end Chase Young makes his return back to Washington after they traded him at the deadline for a third-round pick. In his 7 games with San Francisco, he has 2.5 sacks and 23 pressures. The Niners can clinch the number one seed with the win and losses by the Eagles and Lions. So the Lions lost today to the Cowboys. So if the Eagles lose, and San Francisco will already have the number one seed wrapped up. And yeah, I mean Washington defense is abysmal, and San Francisco 49ers has weapons everywhere. I'm expecting Brock Purdy to bounce back after that 4 interception game he had against the Ravens, which really killed me because I had him in my fantasy. So I was very upset because I almost could have won, but that's a different story. And yeah, it's just really a question of how many are San Francisco going to win by. So yeah, I can't wait to see that game and see how many points the 49ers put on the board. So that rounds out the last show of 2023 for Sade Sports Talk. Again, thank you guys again for all the continued support. And just keep hanging on with me for the new year and see what I will have cooking for you guys. Remember again, you can catch my podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and Google Podcasts. Again, thank you guys and Happy New Year!